Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, guys. I am doing a live from the desk because I got a giant TV here and I can use it as a teleprompter. Let me get the chat pulled up and pin it so that I can see you guys. I reduced the amount of time so there's not much of a delay in the video, or at least there shouldn't be much of a delay in the video. So, 36 people watching. Hell yeah. I like the lighting. Thank you. This is just normally, it's the same lighting that we have set up when we record, except for I'm not back there. I'm closer underneath of the light. And I actually have a top down thing that I could put right here too for a micro or a camera to aim down so you guys can see the desktop if I want. I just have never used it yet. All right, so we're going to do, excuse me, make you a mod right now. There we go. All right, so we are on the Voice of the Broken channel. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to go over the 12 rules of life. I want to do this so that I can interact with you guys as we go. So you are on the screen that I'm reading from. It's not like you're over here anymore. Like you're right. I'm literally here. There's the camera there and then the screen. So I should be able to see everything. Oh, new patron. Love that. All right. So the first rule in Jordan B. Peterson's 12 rules of life is stand up straight with your shoulders back. This is Peter's opening argument for responsibility, agency, and how people position themselves in the struggle of life. When you break this chapter down, there's 5 core ideas that sit underneath of the rule. First of all, Peterson uses this to introduce a much deeper idea about responsibility, confidence, and how people position themselves in the world. The chapter begins with the observation that living creatures organize themselves into hierarchies. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Peterson famously uses the example of lobsters to show that status structures have existed in biological system for hundreds of millions of years. These hierarchies determine access to territory, resources, and opportunity. And also for posture and behavior, they signal where a creature stands within them. He goes on to explain that human beings operate in similar ways. The way that somebody carries themselves physically and psychologically communicates, man, I struggled with that word, didn't I? Psychologically communicates signals to the people around them. Slouch posture, avoiding eye contact, and a hesitant behavior often communicates defeat. Looks like insecurity. However, standing upright, maintaining eye contact, and in moving with purpose communicates readiness and confidence. These signals influence how others respond to us. According to Peterson, posture is not just cosmetic. Body language, neurochemistry, and confidence are all interconnected. So when somebody begins carrying themselves like a capable person, their internal state will begin to shift, and it will actually become that for them. The deeper message of this chapter is about how a person chooses to face life's challenges. Life contains competition, suffering, and uncertainty. Some people respond by shrinking away from those realities and adopting the mindset of someone who has already lost. Victim mentality, guys. Others choose to confront those difficulties directly. Standing up straight symbolizes a decision to face life voluntarily rather than collapsing into resentment or defeat. I'm one of those people that when I walk into a room, not only am I scanning the room, my head is up and I'm making eye contact with everybody that looks at me for like a 1 second count and then moving on, and I'm kind of assessing the situation. I don't ever walk in looking at my feet. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm looking at my feet, I can't see what's going on. We actually had a huge discussion at the men's retreat over trauma responses and over hypervigilance. When you're hypervigilant, you are living through trauma, the lens of a trauma response. So when you walk into the room, any room, doesn't matter if you're going in to meet your boss or you're going into fucking Perkins, when you open the door, every time that door opens, everybody's going to look to the door. You scan the room. Eye contact with everyone who's looking at you to let them know that you see them. Stand up straight, chin up, not down, like you're daring the world to test your chin. It's my philosophy. I want everyone to see that I'm not fucking scared when I walk into a room. That is the posture and presence of a man who walks into a building that commands respect from the other people in it. The people who are capable will see that and see one of their own, right? They're not looking at a sheepish human being. At its core, this rule is an argument for responsibility. I'm going to read a comment real quick. Read a couple comments. I'm excited for this live. I needed to hear this today. I was in a relationship where I wasn't allowed to look up from the ground for 2 years, so this has been a really big lesson for me to learn to stand up straight and look at people. There's a biochemical reaction that actually happens when you stand up straight. There's a physical energy thing. It's not just about presentation. It helps your biochemistry. Yeah, it absolutely does. At its core, this rule is an argument for responsibility and courage. Peterson suggests that when people accept the burden of their lives and carry themselves as if they are capable of handling it, the world begins to respond differently. More importantly, they begin to respond differently to themselves. By standing up straight, both physically and psychologically, a person signals that they are ready to engage with life instead of retreating from it. So the first point is posture reflects mindset. The way that someone physically carries themselves communicates their internal state. Again, slouched shoulders, downward gaze, hesitant movement. These are signals of defeat or insecurity. Upright posture signals readiness and confidence. Peterson's argument is that the body and the mind are linked. When you physically position yourself as someone who is capable, your psychology begins to align with that stance. Sorry, Peaches is stressed out over traffic. The second point is that life contains hierarchies, whether you like them or not. The patriarchy, the fucking matriarchy, it's this, it's that. Yeah, it's all of those things. That's life. Peterson uses the famous lobster example to explain this. Across nature, creatures compete for territory, resources, and position. I covered that earlier. Pretending that hierarchies do not exist does not remove them. Learning how to operate within them responsibly is part of becoming effective in the world. You stop observing the game and start playing it at that point. The third point is victimhood, right? The third point is that victimhood weakens your position. When someone sees themselves as powerless or perpetually wronged by life, their behavior reflects that belief. They shrink from opportunities, avoid responsibility, and reinforce the very position they resent. Standing up straight is Peter's symbolic rejection of that mindset. It means refusing to live as the person who has already lost. The fourth point is taking responsibility. This changes how the world responds to you. When someone accepts the weight of their life, begins to carry their responsibilities, and move forward with confidence, the other people respond differently. Employers, partners, friends, and strangers read that signal. The world tends to reward competence, reliability, and courage, and those traits begin with the willingness to stand up straight and engage with reality. What's up, Logan? Logan Christensen? Rosti, this is exactly the conversation I had with my woman yesterday. This being clearly framed and put in this video right after such a hard conversation is showing me that the universe is pushing our lives in the direction after the retreat and move forward. Yes. Yes, yes, fucking yes. Fifth point is that small behavioral changes reshape your identity. Peterson emphasizes that transformation often begins with simple actions. Adjusting your posture, taking care of responsibilities, speaking clearly, and facing challenges are small signals that reinforce a new internal narrative. Over time, those behaviors compound and reshape how someone sees themselves and how others sees them. Pandora said, "My partner is home from work today. This is great." Well, hell yeah. Miss you guys. Hope to be back in the Discord soon. We'd love to have you back. We're fucking doing the thing. Discord's thriving. We started a church. Whole lot of cool shit's happening. Voice of the Broken's coming back on Monday. Well, the recording is. Yes, Jordan B. Peterson. This is a document that I put together based off the 12 Rules of Life to give you guys the main points of the book without actually having to read it. Although I highly recommend that you still read it. Sorry, guys. Peaches is texting me, and she's more important than everyone in the world. So, Libby said, if I'm not standing up straight at work, I get looked at as weak and a pushover. I struggled a little when I first started, but with my husband's help, I've been able to change the power dynamic. I love that. Rachel said the conversation at the first women's retreat has stuck with me about carrying my head high when I enter a room. I still think of it almost daily. I love that. I'm glad that I had such a huge impact at that retreat. Peaches and I have decided that moving forward, we will both be doing seminars together at those retreats, even if I'm not in the rest of the thing. I'm going to send her a link to this so that she can watch it. Give me 1 second, guys, because she's stuck in traffic at a dead standstill. Make it easier so that she don't have to go and digging for the link. I mean, she'll be in the chat. Oh, man, I'm nervous now because she's going to be watching me. I have to do the thing. I got to do the thing. I can't look like a scrub in front of my wife. You had a huge impact at that retreat. The perspectives couldn't have been given by other women, and we very much needed to hear truthfully how the male thought process works. We learned from the both of you, no rush. Yeah, absolutely love that shit. Hopefully she tunes in and she says hello in the chat, so I know she's here. So anyways, so the chapter itself moves through a few major themes. He starts with the lobster hierarchy example, that this is where the idea of dominant structures and status hierarchies come from. He uses this to argue that hierarchy is not a modern social invention, but something deeply embedded in biological life. From there, he explains that neurochemistry and posture, specifically serotonin, animals that win status conflicts, shows changes in serotonin that affect posture, confidence, and behavior. It's also been proven that when men win, our testosterone goes up. So like if you are somebody who's bidding for a job, right? If you go in and try to get a job and you're a dude and there's another 50 people applying for that job and you get that job, your testosterone will actually increase. It won't stay that way, but you will get an increase of testosterone over the next few days. And in doing so, you'll probably have a better sex life because your testosterone will go up. Just saying. Be the healing you need. Hey, that's my wife. Love that. Preach. So then he goes on to say that personal responsibility versus victimhood. If someone accepts their place in the hierarchy and works to improve it, they can move upward. If they collapse into resentment or bitterness, they then reinforce their own stagnation. And then finally, he closes the chapter with act like someone capable of facing life, stand up straight, take responsibility, start behaving as if you're someone who deserves respect and opportunity, because posture reflects your mindset and life contains hierarchies. I have notes here that I'm just going to read. Victimhood weakens your position. Victimhood will always weaken your position. Anytime you meet with somebody and they have a pity me, woe is me, I'm not good enough, any type of or feeling mentality to them, you look down on them. You may not right away, right? Like at first you're going to try to save them and make them feel good and try to do the thing. And then after a while, you're going to realize that there's no change coming and they're using this to fucking get attention from people, and it's going to make you disengage from them entirely. Responsibility changes how the world responds to you. Small behavioral shifts and reinforce your identity. There's also 3 deeper themes that run underneath of the first rule. I know that Peterson spends a lot of time on biology and storytelling, but those stories all point to some larger ideas that people will face in life. The first one is responsibility as the foundation of dignity. The first rule is ultimately about the decision to carry your life instead of collapsing under it. So many people feel the weight of a new job or stress from work or whatever the case may be, and they find themselves not able to bear that. You know what I mean? And it's easier to quit and give up and to make excuses and complain than it is to actually do the thing. Standing up straight symbolizes the moment that someone stops waiting for rescue and begins taking ownership of their circumstances. This is why I hate my family calling my husband Eeyore. He moves slow and when relaxed. Well, see, that's fucked up because Eeyore is the depressed character. Eeyore is the manifestation of mental illness in Winnie the Pooh, right? Every one of his friends are a mental illness. You guys, now that I've said that, when you watch Winnie the Pooh, you can be able to go and you'll get it. Definitely watching this again with my man. Fuck yeah. So anyway, standing up straight symbolizes that the moment someone stops waiting for rescue and begins taking ownership of their circumstances, life will hand things will change. Life will hand everyone difficulty, unfairness, and suffering. The question is whether someone chooses to shoulder that weight voluntarily or spend their energy resenting it. Peterson's argument is that dignity emerges when a person accepts responsibility for their position and then it begins improving it step by step. What are you whatting? Wait, what? 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 What are you whatting? What are you whatting? I was always referred to as Tigger. That's ADHD. The second theme of this relationship between confidence and competence, Peter argues that how someone carries themselves is not just cosmetic. Posture, speech, eye contact, and willingness to engage signal your capability to others. When someone behaves as though they are ready to face challenges, the world often responds by offering them more opportunity and more trust. Over time, that external response reinforces internal confidence, and now your fake it till you make it is starting to stack on. You're gaining wins, and you're becoming that motherfucker. So behaving like a capable person becomes part of the process of actually becoming one. I don't know if Pooh had a mental illness in that. You're going to make me Google this, aren't you? Winnie. Piglet's anxiety, Tigger's ADHD, Eeyore's depression, Rabbit is narcissism, and Pooh is impulsive eating. So he has an eating disorder. All right. The third theme that underlines chapter 1 is that voluntary engagement with struggle. Peterson believes that suffering is unavoidable. Everyone is going to encounter loss, competition, and uncertainty. The real dividing line is whether someone confronts those realities willingly or retreats from them. When someone chooses to engage with difficulty instead of avoiding it, they begin transforming suffering into growth, strength, and meaning. I'm getting comments on Patreon. I think that there's somebody's watching on there and commenting, but I can't see the comments unless I check my phone. If you're watching on Patreon, if you click on the video, you should get a YouTube tab. If you click on the YouTube tab, it'll take you to YouTube and you can get into the chat with everyone else. So put simply, the rule is not about posture. It's about accepting responsibility, developing the courage to engage with life changes, and positioning yourself as someone who is willing to carry the burden of being alive. Right? So we are 20 minutes in and done with the first rule. I'm just going to move on to the second one. Gotta move the chat. How you guys feel about the first one? Any questions or thoughts on the first rule? This is why I did this live, so that we can interact. Bell said I struggle with eye contact. I mean, that could be an autism thing, right? Like, autistic people struggle with eye contact. That's very real. If you can learn to get over that discomfort and make eye contact, you start by doing 3 1000s, like 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, and then breaking eye contact. And over a while, go to 5 or 10. You will teach yourself how to do the eye contact thing. Trauma responses are also an issue when it comes to eye contact. If I'm in a crowded room full of people, and if I'm like intently staring at them, it's because I can't fucking hear them and I have to read their lips while they're talking because I can't hear in really loud situations. Otherwise, if I'm in a loud room, I'm constantly scanning, so my eye contact is not consistent. I need to know what everyone is doing and where they're at. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. Feels like you're trying to read my thoughts when you look into my eyes, because I'm trying to read yours if I'm looking into your eyes. Well, I mean, that's a you thing, though. Just stopping by for my lunch. I'm very much enjoying this live. Thank you, Chris. You're welcome. Thank you for coming from Patreon, Swirl Willick. Eye contact is fine if I am masking, but otherwise it's a lot. It's a lot, period. It's also different, right? Eye contact, woman to woman, man to man, or man to woman, all have different places. I know how I look, right? So I can be very overpowering when I'm dealing with people. So like I have to soften that depending, and real shit, I determine how I'm going to make eye contact with another man by the way he shakes my hand when I meet him, or how he speaks. Because if he seems sheepish and I make eye contact the way that I'm making with the camera lens right now, and this prolongs for a few seconds, he's going to want to look away, and it's going to make him feel like I'm trying to dominate the conversation. Whereas if I do this and I'm looking over here and we're having conversations and then I make eye contact for a minute to prove my point and I go on, there's a lot more safety there. So sheepish men can't do that. Now, if I'm talking to a woman and she's fucking making googly eyes at me, the last thing I want to do is look her in the eyes, because I'm not trying to give that intimate connection, you know, and that's a very real thing. As for woman to woman, I don't know how that works because I'm not a woman. So, you are uncomfortable with eye contact because you are doing and trying to read people's minds is invasive. I agree with that. I can give eye contact easily when I truly desire connection with someone. Otherwise, I'm comfortable in my autistic need to avoid eye contact. Yeah, I get that. All right. So the second rule is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. This goes into the law of one, guys. Goes into the Hermetic principles. This is a really big golden rule situation, but when you realize that you are the person that you're talking to, going out on a limb to do for others, it becomes very easy, right? And that's what we're teaching with the church. And then after this is cemented and you guys really get it, the next thing is going to be learn to love yourself, because all of that comes from a place of love. So, Peterson explores a strange but common pattern in human behavior in this chapter. Many people will care for others far better than they care for themselves. Someone will make sure that their child eats properly, give their dog its medication on time, and support a struggling friend, yet neglect their own mental health, their habits, and responsibilities. Peterson argues that this imbalance reveals something important about the way that people see themselves. Often individuals treat their own lives with indifference, harsh judgment, negative self-talk, or neglect in ways that they would never apply to someone that they love. The second rule explores why this happens. Peterson goes on to suggest that people are deeply aware of their own flaws, mistakes, and capacity for wrongdoing. Because of this awareness, some individuals begin to see themselves as undeserving of care or guidance. I'm not going to argue with this man. Jordan B. Peterson is a fucking intelligent dude, like way, way smarter than I am. So I do believe that that's a thing. However, I know that my anxiety, my insecurities, my negative self-talk all comes from the stories that I was told as I was growing up, whether it came from my peers or my parents or my teachers, hearing I wasn't good enough, I was too stupid, I'll never be able to do this thing, getting screamed at, like, you know, spilling something and then getting spanked for it because now there's, you know, a wet carpet that, you know, is obviously going to fucking dry. It's not that big of a deal. All of those things cultivate the experience that goes on behind your eyeballs. So I'm not saying that he's wrong in this. I just think there's a lot more to it. He goes on to say that shame, guilt, and self-criticism can lead to neglect in your own well-being. Instead of acting as responsible caretakers of your lives, you allow destructive habits, poor health, and aimless behavior to go unchecked. I've listened to this book twice, learned something each time. This breakdown now is also teaching me more. Love that. This is one of my favorite books. I think you're thinking too much into conversations with people. I don't know if that was to me or not, but I mean, that's kind of my job, if it was. I actually really pay attention to people when they talk. Like that's the way that people conduct themselves and the verbiage they use and all of that shit really truly matters to me. Oh, that was my wife. I hate that it doesn't say Peaches on there because I don't know your name on here. Be the healing you need. That's Peaches, right? Were you talking to me, woman? I'm going to go back to this and then look back over and see if she's talking to me. I don't think she was now because I see Samantha up there. I don't know where I was. So I'm just going to move on to the next part of this. Peterson argues that a healthier approach is to treat yourself as someone whose life genuinely matters. If you were responsible for guiding the life of a person that you loved, you would want them to eat well, develop discipline, avoid destructive behavior, and pursue meaningful goals. The rule asks you to apply that same mindset inward. Helping yourself does not mean indulging in every impulse or avoiding discomfort. Real care involves honesty, structure, and sometimes difficult choices that lead to long-term improvement. I write down, I have worth and I am loved every day as part of journaling, really trying to do the thing. I love that. It's less about the space for typing and more about the words that you use, trying to read people's minds. Oh, she's definitely not talking to me. Yes, that is your job, husband. I was not talking to you. I hope that being stuck in traffic is not so bad for you, babe. I fucking hate that for you. All right. At its core, this chapter is about stewardship. Each person is responsible for the direction of their own life. Treating yourself like someone's worth helping. Treating yourself like someone worth helping means making decisions that support your growth, your health, and a future that you love, rather than allowing neglect or self-sabotage to dictate your path. You guys, if you guys are trying to give yourself verbal affirmations or giving yourself positive affirmations every day, you should do them verbally while looking yourself in the mirror. And if you're doing them about your physical appearance, Peaches says that you should look at yourself and talk about the things that you like out loud. Peterson's argument in this chapter is that many people will care for others better than they care for themselves. Someone will give their dog medication on time, make sure their children eat well. I read that already. The first point, that people are often harder on themselves than they are on others. Many individuals speak to themselves in ways that they would never speak to a friend. They tolerate poor habits and neglect their health, or punish themselves for mistakes instead of guiding themselves forward. Peterson argues that this internal hostility keeps people stuck rather than helping them improve. The second point is that self-neglect often comes from guilt or low self-worth. Some people unconsciously believe that they do not deserve care, discipline, or improvement. This can come from shame, past mistakes, or deeply internalized criticism. Instead of acting as a caretaker of their own life, they become indifferent towards it. Don't have a meltdown, babe. If you don't get there and somebody else is in her chair, this wasn't meant to be. You left with plenty of time to get there, even if you hit traffic. The third point here is that you have a responsibility to care for yourself because your life has value. Peterson frames this in moral terms. If you believe other people deserve care and dignity, then you must apply that same standard inward. Treating yourself responsibly is not selfishness. It is recognizing that your life matters and that you have obligations to it. If we are all one, and you love your kids and you love your wife or your husband, and you love your best friend, and you are actively trying to serve your community and do all of those things, you neglecting yourself and not loving yourself the same way is actually hurting the whole collective. It's hurting your husband or your wife. It's affecting your kids and your dog. It's affecting your job, the community that you're trying to build, the support groups that you're trying to be a part of. You are everyone else and they are you. So refusing to take care of you is just as problematic as neglecting the people you love. There's other, in all of these, there's going to be 3 to 5 other things that underline these chapters that I want to get into. The first one here is intrinsic human worth. Peterson argues that human beings have value even if they are flawed, even though they are flawed. Much of the chapter references the religious idea that people are capable of both good and evil. Because of that awareness of our own flaws, people sometimes conclude that they are not worthy of care. Peterson pushes against that conclusion, and his argument is that recognizing your capacity for failure does not remove your value. It actually creates a responsibility to guide your life carefully. If a human life has value, then your life has value, and neglecting it becomes morally irresponsible. This some of this shit that I'm talking about on this stream is going to come up tonight in tonight's church service. So we will be doing our second service tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Zoom call for the Awakened Consciousness. If you guys are not a member of the church yet, you can sign up at theawakenedconscious.org or aconsciousness.com. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. I'm sorry, aconsciousness.org. I'm going to put it in the chat. Once you guys sign up, make sure you sign up so that you can get emails, because I emailed the link out for the Zoom call 15 minutes before we go live. And we will be discussing quite a bit of things tonight on the law of one and polarity. Polarity and I think cause and effect. This is going to be a good live stream tonight. Keely said, I finally love myself. I have to remind myself to allow myself to show up as the person I am today, the healing me, the healthier me. That's fucking awesome. Rachel said, how many times in my life I have unknowingly told myself I'm not worthy? It is recorded as well. Yeah. So, if you missed the Zoom call, it will be posted in the church server along with whatever, journal prompt that we have and all of that. So, and if you're in the church server, I did post a question that we'll be getting into tonight into the church server as well. For the live stream tonight, do I just have to become a member on the website? Yes. And make sure that you can get emails. Yeah. You don't have to be a part of the Patreon Discord to do church service. That is free. But if you want to get more involved with what we're doing in the church, you'll need to get into the Discord, which is Patreon. Moving on, the second concept is self-stewardship. Peterson frames the individual as both the caretaker and the person being cared for. You are the manager of your own life. You are the author of your own life. Just as a responsible guardian would ensure a child eats properly, learns discipline, and avoids destructive habits, you must take on that same role towards yourself. Stewardship means making decisions based on what will genuinely improve your life rather than what temporarily feels good. Not having control of a situation is very stressful sometimes, but if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. All right. Third concept that underlines this chapter is that the balance between compassion and discipline. It is the balance between compassion and discipline. Treating yourself well does not mean constant comfort or indulgence. Peterson emphasizes that real care often involves structure, accountability, and correction. A good parent does not give their child unlimited candy simply because it feels kind in the moment. Real care sometimes requires difficult choices that produce long-term benefits. The same principle applies inward. Helping yourself requires both understanding and firmness. Guys, this is sometimes you have to do the hard thing and tough love yourself. That doesn't mean negative self-talk. It means being honest and fucking changing your life. I've definitely started pouring myself into things that are long-term goals and not immediate gratification. It's given me a huge sense of purpose in broken addictive habits. I believe that. It took me suffering a major broken bone to learn that second concept, and I am so grateful that it finally clicked. I love that. So put simply, the second rule is that a person should treat their own life with the same seriousness that they would apply if they were responsible for guiding someone they love. That means recognizing the value of a human life, accepting responsibility for its direction, and balancing compassion with discipline. That life that you are supposed to be guiding is yours. You're absolutely right. As soon as I started being more disciplined with myself, I started feeling better about myself. Of course you did. Of course you did. All right, we're going to move on to the third one. You guys enjoying this live stream? Discipline can be seen as being tough on yourself. I don't know why my interpretation. That's not being tough on yourself. Discipline is the gasoline of your body that gets you through your day to day, right? That's the drive that you have to do all of the things that you need to do. Motivation is like nitrous oxide, the nitrous tanks in your car, right? It'll give you a boost and you can do the things, but having discipline is what you need to like do all the things that you need to succeed in life. It's taking a shower every day. It's brushing your teeth. It's making sure that you're wearing clean underwear every time you leave the house. It's making sure that your kids are not eating junk food. It's going to the gym and exercising even when you don't want to. Those are all discipline. If you view discipline as a bad thing, that means that somebody in your life told you that being disciplined is a spanking, right? It's a negative. If you discipline your children, you'll never have to punish them. Discipline and punishment is not the same thing. Bye, babe. I hope you have a good appointment. Your growing wisdom is hot. I love you. I love you too, babe. Thank you for that. Somebody said something about not doing mushrooms. Where on the church server is the question? It's, I don't know. I'll come back to that. I'm going to pull it up. And then I'll get back to you on that. I might have put it in the weekly services. Nope. I didn't. I'll find it. Give me a minute. I'll come back to that because I actually have it saved. So that's an easy find. I want to see what somebody said about not doing mushrooms because I feel like it has. Just became a member of the church. Even though I don't do shrooms. Okay, so we don't either. It's a sacred sacrament. And being a member of the church doesn't mean that you have to partake in the sacred sacrament. There are many tools that we use to connect to the source. Having sacred ceremonies with a sacred sacrament is one of those tools in a group setting to help you connect to the infinite creator. We welcome people who don't take the sacrament just as much as we welcome people who want to take the sacrament, because we are not a religious foundation that's trying to put God in a box, right? We are trying to teach the law of one, teach the Hermetic principles and Christ consciousness. We want to be living our life the way that Jesus lived his life, not the way that modern day Christianity tells you that you're supposed to live. If you look at what Jesus preached, there's a whole lot of karma and love, and it's very different than the Old Testament. So I felt the need to say that because the church is something we're very passionate about and we're doing the thing. So I don't want it to ever be viewed as just like a drug thing, because that's not at all what it is. To participate in service, do we have to make an account on the website or do we have to sign the form as well? I haven't signed the form because I don't currently hold the beliefs, but I am interested in learning. You just have to become a member of the church. The document, I think that once you sign up, if you have access to the website and we can send you an email, if you got an email saying you've signed up, then we'll be able to send you the Zoom link. All right, let me go find the question for the thing tonight because it matters. Okay, so the question for the service tonight, and you guys can think about this while we're live. You can leave your answers in the chat if you want. If you split a sandwich with someone, you are serving someone other than yourself. That's a statement because it's factual. If somebody's hungry and you have a sandwich and you give them half of your sandwich, that's you doing the thing, right? Thank you, IT guy. I appreciate it. If you split the sandwich and it's uneven and you take the bigger half, does that negate the act of service to others and become selfishness? And does it diminish the act? That's the question. Okay. So you guys can think about that however you want to think about it. This is speaking to the law of one. So when we get into that tonight, I'm going to actually go over my thoughts on that and how that plays out to me. So So chapter 3, rule 3, the third rule of life by Jordan B. Peterson is make friends with people who want the best for you. We talked about it at the men's retreat this weekend. One of the biggest things that I dislike about my existence is that my real life in-person social circle is so small that I don't have real people to engage my victories with. People want to see you doing well, but they never want to see you doing better than them. And like, I love seeing people level up. I want to see people do the thing. I believe that there's enough business, enough friendship, enough religion, enough whatever you are doing to go around that your success doesn't negatively impact my existence. And I want to see everybody thriving and doing the thing, but I'm not trying to be around people who are stepping on motherfuckers to get there, right? So if you don't have friends in your life or relatives or people in your life that truly celebrate your wins, you have the wrong people in your life. And that's the entire point of the third rule of this. I just did the e-signing thing and bookmarked the church site. Okay? We're not clapping for each other. What are we doing? Right. I understand. I have friends who share victories, but not close enough to see them in person constantly. I feel you there. It's lonely. IT guy said, I want all the people who I care about to make it. You should. You fucking should. This came to mind. I want people to do better than me so that I can learn from them. People doing better makes better mentors. Right. Because if you have people around you that you really love and they're leveling up, they're going to want to pull you up with you. The problem is you can't force somebody to pull you up. And if you're not doing the things that you need to do, they're going to look down and see you fucking off, and they're not going to waste their time because they're still climbing. In this chapter, Peterson examines the powerful influence that relationships have on the direction of a person's life. Human beings are deeply shaped by the people around them. The attitudes, habits, expectations, and standards within a social circle slowly become your normal. Because of this, the quality of your friendships can either support your growth or quietly reinforce your stagnation. We talk about this constantly on the podcast. Somebody said, what do I have to gain from preying on someone's downfall? Vindictive gratification is the answer to that question. There are so many people out there who would like to see other people fall because they are fucking miserable in life and not doing enough to reach success, and they believe the world is out to get them. They believe that no matter what they do, the universe is out to get them. Everyone's doing them dirty. They'll never be enough. So they want to do everything that they can to disrupt other people's bullshit. So it's a fucking mess, man. It's a mess. Yep. Peterson explains that real friendship involves wanting genuine improvement for another person. A friend who wants the best for you will encourage responsibility, discipline, and forward movement. They celebrate progress and support change even when it's difficult. In contrast of responsibility. I skipped a whole ass fucking line there. In contrast, some relationships become centered around shared suffering, bad habits, or mutual avoidance of responsibility. When someone begins improving their life, those relationships become strained because growth disrupts the existing dynamic. That's a sad state of mind to have. It really fucking is. But you see it all the time. You see it every time you get on the internet and see content creators fucking bashing each other. I know that a lot of people live for the drama. They live for the fucking dumpster fire emails we were reading. They wanted that Jerry Springer shit. When we were doing dumpster fire emails, our Patreon was at the highest it ever was. And since then, we've had a huge fall off because we don't want to do it anymore. People want to feel better about their life by watching other people suffer more than them because it reminds them that they're not doing that bad. It's not, I don't know. Shit makes me feel like my karma feels dirty just doing that shit. Because I know what that looks like, you know? This chapter explores while some people resist the improvement of those around them. I read that one. No, I didn't. When one person begins taking responsibility for their life, it can unintentionally expose the lack of progress in others. Instead of supporting the change, those friends may subtly discourage it. in order to restore the old balance. Peterson argues that true friendship does the opposite. A real friend wants to see you succeed, even if that success challenges their own discomfort and forces them to grow as well. Is this just a Patreon live or it's public? We're public. This is on the Voice of the Broken channel. There shouldn't even be any ads because I'm not even monetized on this channel yet. I know that you guys can send super chats, but everything that I do on this channel is just me going live. No monies or anything. This is me just doing me shit because I enjoy it. I enjoy working, guys. I enjoy having conversations with you guys. I enjoy having my thoughts challenged. I enjoy the back and forth. I enjoy hearing that I'm changing people's lives. It makes me have increased self-worth in this world. So when you break this chapter down, the 5 core ideas that sit underneath of the rule, the first one is that people around you influence your trajectory. Human beings are deeply social creatures. The attitudes, habits, and expectations of your friends affect how you think and how you behave. If the people around you value growth, discipline, and responsibility, those traits become normal in your environment. If they tolerate chaos, self-destruction, or stagnation, those patterns become normalized as well. This is why I don't fuck with people who are doing shady shit. If I have a friend who is gossiping to me about what their other friends are doing, I distance myself from them real fucking hard because I know that anything that they learn about my life, they're going to go and talk about to other people. And like, if I'm not telling those people about my life, they don't need to know about my life. Like, I don't need other people that are potentially wanting my downfall or hoping to see me fucking bust my face or go broke or whatever the case may be to be involved in my life in any way, shape, or form. I already know they watch the content. That's about as far as that needs to go. So the internal aspects of my life and where I'm going and who I'm friends with and what ceremonies we're doing and all of these things, like that shit doesn't need to be fucking passed around to people. So don't fuck with people who gossip, because if they gossip to you, they'll gossip about you. If you are married and you have divorced friends and you are hanging out with those friends and they're dating and they're doing the thing and you see them getting, kind of happy and they're in that new relationship phase and you've been married for 20 years and you feel like, well, my marriage is lacking now, and you start looking at your relationship as a negative light, it's because you're hanging out with people that don't align with your current existence. Those people are technically regressing in life, right? If your friend was married for 15 years and got divorced and like their marriage was in shambles and they opted to divorce instead of fixing it, and now they're changing their existence and dating again, you guys are living on 2 very different paths. Your marriage is still intact and whole. What happens when they start bringing dudes around and their friends start coming and like you now find yourself in situations where you went to watch, a movie with your friend and her boyfriend and some strange dude shows up and he's fucking hitting you all night, or you get a little bit of attention and you feel good about it. And the next thing you know, he's touching you. Like, there's a whole lot of like, don't do that. Right. The second point is not everyone wants you to improve. Peterson spends time explaining that when someone begins improving their life, it can threaten people who are stuck. A friend who is comfortable in destructive habits may feel exposed when someone else starts changing. Instead of supporting growth, they may start to subtly sabotage it or pull the person back towards familiar behavior. This is also why people fuck up with their addiction and end up fucked up on drugs again. The third point is real friendship includes encouragement and accountability. A true friend is going to call you on your shit. A true friend is going to love you enough to tell you the hard things. A true friend is going to be like, yo, your wife doesn't deserve that. True friend is going to go, I know that you're having troubles in your marriage right now, but going to the bar and talking to that dude is probably not the best move, right? They want to see you succeed and they will support you in becoming better. This sometimes means offering encouragement and sometimes mean confronting you when you are making poor decisions. A relationship that never challenges you may not actually be serving your development. The fourth point under this book is loyalty should not mean enabling destructive behavior. I think that people enabling destructive behavior are not your friends. I truly believe that they are not your fucking friends. Peterson addresses the idea that people sometimes stay in unhealthy relationships out of misplaced loyalty or guilt. Helping someone who refuses responsibility can become a form of enabling. Friendship should involve care, but it should also respect the boundaries that are necessary for growth. If I'm in a group and someone starts talking about someone else, I say they should be here if you're going to talk about them. That's super strong. And you know what? You're going to find yourself being disliked because you're calling somebody else on that shitty behavior instead of allowing yourself to sink down into that mess. You want to take it a step further. You can say, I understand, like, how would I word that? I'm not comfortable with you saying these things to me with this person not here, because it tells me two things. One, you don't respect that person, and two, you think that I don't respect that person either, and you don't know my existence, right? There's a whole lot of assumption in that situation, and it could also be that you were at one point doing the same thing. So there's an opportunity to look inward as well. Maverick just reached back out. They are working on my application and needed an additional document updated. That's good. That means that they're progressing. You may have gotten that job, dude. Because of the Discord and retreats, I have created healthy friendships, the healthiest friendships I've ever had in my life. I fucking love that. I love that. Fifth point is choosing good relationships. Raise your standards. You guys want to see a man do well? Watch him find a good woman that fucking like challenges his capability and pushes him to be better. Men will do a whole lot of things with a woman going, you fucking got this, babe. Like it does something to us on the internal. It's like, I'll fucking wrestle that bull barehanded, break its neck, and fucking I'll gut that motherfucker right there on the field and come back covered in blood if that's going to make you smile. Like that. I know that sounds very crazy, but like we really do some fucking off the wall shit to try to impress our women when they believe in us. It's a whole ass thing. So the themes underneath of this is that mutual elevation. Real friendship is not passive. A healthy friendship will push both people towards growth. The second theme is responsibility in choosing your environment. Many people act as if their social circle is something that simply happens to them. But Peterson argues that the people you choose and that you keep close shape the direction of your life. The third one is the necessity of boundaries. Compassion does not mean tolerating destructive behavior indefinitely. Peterson discusses how some relationships become centered around shared suffering, addiction, or failure. When someone begins improving their life, those relationships can become strained because the change threatens the existing dynamic. And this chapter emphasizes that loyalty should not require sacrificing your own growth or enabling someone else's self-destruction. So put simply, this rule is about recognizing that relationships are powerful forces in shaping who you become. Healthy friendships encourage growth. Responsible people choose their environment carefully, and boundaries protect the direction of your life. I will fight the world by myself, all because I have a good woman believing me. Yes, you will. Yes, you fucking will, dude. We will take on everything with a good woman behind you. It fucking changes the way our brain works. Absolutely does. Absolutely does. You guys want to do the fourth one, or you want to wrap up? What do you guys want to do? I got a whole lot of time before my wife gets home. She's getting her hair did. Fourth. All right. I'm not doing anything. All right. The fourth rule is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. This is a big one because at the men's retreat, we had at least two people who were in their mid-20s-ish saying that they feel like they're not as far ahead in life as they should be. One of them was a business owner who owns his house, owns his vehicle, just bought a conversion van. Even, it's an older conversion van that he's working on and doing the thing. They went to Costa Rica with us. They've been to a ceremony with us. Like they're good people. He's a good fucking kid. And like, he's still a kid to me because he's like 25, 26, 27 years old. And he was telling me that, and I feel like I'm kind of gossiping right now, but I'm doing this from a place of love and a place of I'm proud. So it's not gossip. This is me recognizing the accomplishments of somebody that I care about. So don't get that twisted. But he was worried about not being where other people are in life. And like when I was his age, I was homeless and fucking broke, and I had barely made enough money during the week to eat, let alone even take care of my kid. Like there was so much other shit going on in my life. And here he is at 20 something years old, fucking thriving. And he's allowing his idea of where he should be at his age steal the joy and fulfillment that he has in life. Comparison is the thief of joy. You should be competing with who you were yesterday and not to the people around you, because you didn't have the circumstances that they did. Maybe they had a fucking leg up. Maybe they didn't have anything. Maybe they didn't have a fucking choice but to do what they're doing because there was no other option, right? So like, you have your own universe. You have your own life going on right now. You guys need to recognize that shit. Since the women's retreat, changing my perspective about my husband and his feelings towards me has been a game changer. The chat we had about marriage actually being transactional changed our marriage. Hopefully for the better. I love that. So this chapter is about how people evaluate their progress in life. Peterson argues that constant comparison to others often leads to resentment, discouragement, and arrogance. Someone will always be more successful, more talented, or further ahead in some area. If comparison to others becomes the primary measuring stick, it becomes almost impossible to feel satisfied with progress. The rule shifts the focus inward. The real comparison should be between who you are today and who you were before. How many of you in the chat, if you have written your own eulogy, put a 1 in the chat. Let's see how many people have ever written your eulogy. Put 1, 2 in the chat if you've written it for more than right now. Like if you did like right now in 10 years. Me and the hubby talked about this 2 days ago, and the growth we have had is life-changing. Love that. We had a conversation recently that all relationships are transactional in some way. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. Anybody tells you otherwise, full of shit. I knew IT guy would pop up. I actually thought you were working. I didn't realize that you were even in the chat still. I knew you did it because I had pushed you to it. Just 2 people. 3. I've written it twice. Okay, so here's my challenge for everybody, the 57 people that are in the chat. If you were to die right now, what would the people in your life currently say about you when they give your eulogy? This is not what you want them to say or what you hope they'll say. This is a lesson about being completely honest about the man or woman you actually are. This is a very sobering experience. This is very raw. There's a whole lot of ugly that will come out of this if you're being completely fucking honest with yourself. And then you write it again in who you think you'll be and what your eulogy will sound like 10 years from now, and then do it again for 30. And the exercise in this is that in the next 10 years, it gives you a 10-year plan on becoming the person that you want to be. And your 30-year eulogy speaks on the legacy in the world that you leave behind. This is something that I challenge all my men to do when they join the men's group. That and finding out their core values. So, all right. In this chapter, Peterson addresses the human tendency to measure ourselves against other people. Comparison is built into social life, but it often becomes destructive when it turns into a constant evaluation of your worth based off of someone else's success, their intelligence, or their achievements. There will always be people who are ahead of us in some area of life. If comparison to others becomes the standard, it becomes almost impossible to feel satisfied with progress. There's the other side of this. If you're comparing yourself to people who are not doing as good as you are, there is an air of egotistic, maybe even like early on narcissistic traits in that, because you're using other people's shortcomings to validate your existence and to feel like you're doing something in life. And I actually think that that's worse than comparing yourself to successful people. We found my grandma's obituary. She wrote herself after she died. She was one of 11 siblings. Seeing all the scratch outs since she was the last one broke my heart. That's fucking rough. Maxer said, dang, Chris, hitting me with a bunch of bricks. Now I have a lot to think about today, if not for a couple of days. Never put thought into it. You should. You guys, we're supposed to be introspective. I watched an interview the other day that Prince did in the 90s where he talked about how we're not supposed to watch TV. and that we are not supposed to be inundated with information all the time. Our brains are not meant to handle the amount of shit that's thrown at us constantly 24/7, and it's doing us a massive disservice. It's creating anxiety and a whole bunch of other shit. Peaches is talking to me. She gets my priority. Truly no idea. A lot of ugly view on it. Lots of anger. I know the good mom and hard worker would be a thing. Good wife, ? Working on it. See? It's fucking hard, right? First time I had to write my own eulogy, I had to come in to grip, I guess, with the fact that the only thing I would want said about me at my funeral at that time in my life was that I was a good man. And when I really thought about it, and I really thought about like what makes a good man, and I listed my core values out and my non-negotiables, if anybody would have got up at that time in my life and said I was a good man, they'd have been a fucking liar. And that's the honest to God's truth about it. And it forced me to really change the way that I conduct myself, because that matters to me. I want to be a good man. I want people to be able to stand there and say, I conducted myself with integrity towards the end of my life, whatever that looks like, Peterson often argues, he argues that these comparisons are often unfair from the start. Every individual begins with different abilities, personalities, opportunities, and challenges. Intelligence, health, family environment, luck, and countless other factors shape the path that someone takes. Because of that complexity, comparing your life directly to someone else's can lead to resentment or discouragement. Instead of motivating improvement, it often convinces people that they are already losing. The rule encourages a different form of comparison. Rather than measuring yourself against others, measure yourself against your own past behavior. The question becomes whether you are improving, even slightly, from where you were before. Small improvements in habits, discipline, honesty, and responsibility may seem minor in the moment, but over time they compound into meaningful change. If you wake up every day that your alarm goes off and you put your feet flat on the floor before you turn your alarm off, that will become a habit. You will wake up, put your feet on the floor, and then reach for your alarm on day 22 automatically. You won't even have to think about it. That will be your new normal. If you do that, grab a bottle of water, go take a piss, put your shoes on, go to the gym for 21 days, that will be your new normal. That will be your routine. You'll find yourself not knowing what to do with yourself if you're forced to take a rest day from your coach. Yep. You'll find yourself going to the park with a weighted vest, walking because you feel like you should be doing something with your body. At its core, this chapter is about shifting attention away from the status and toward personal progress. When someone focuses on becoming slightly better than they were yesterday, they gain a sense of direction and control. Instead of being trapped in resentment about what others have, they begin building a life through steady improvement. When I owned the dungeon, for those of you who were live on TikTok earlier, there was a kid named Dalton in there. He used to come to my gym when I owned my gym when he was like 15 years old. He was playing Pop Warner football or high school football or whatever it was. He's playing high school football. And his mom wanted him to get into the NFL and shit. And one of the things that we had in my gym is we would yell lane bricks. If somebody got a new PR, if they did one more rep than they did the week before, if they got a faster mile on their run, if they were able to do an extra pull-up, if they were just trying to help them, hype themselves up, we yell laying bricks. And that was our battle cry in that gym. Laying bricks, brick by brick, motherfucker. Like that was our thing. And it was a way of letting everybody know in the gym that we just did that thing. We just had one level up. We just did something that we were incapable of doing yesterday, and we didn't fucking quit. And like, it got to the point where somebody would say it and then the other people in the gym would say it. Like there was so much like support in all of that. And I don't remember why I brought that up, so I'm just going to keep reading. Because I said that it's about building a life through steady improvement. It's one brick at a time, one rep, one breath, one thing every single time over and over and over again. When the chapters distill down the 5 core ideas that sit underneath of the rule is that comparing yourself to others distorts your perspective. People tend to compare their weakness to someone else's strength. social comparison rarely shows the full picture of another person's life. For all of you who are scrolling social media going, I wish I had what they had, you have no idea what the fuck they went through to get there. You may not have survived it. Don't wish for what other people had. Wish for what you want, and then start taking actionable steps to fucking get there. The second part of this is that life contains immense inequality and ability, opportunity, and outcomes. People start from different positions, different intelligence, temperaments, family backgrounds, health, luck, all of it influences where someone begins and where their path ultimately ends up. The third point is progress should be measured against your past self. We covered that. The fourth point is order your own life before criticizing. Order your own life before criticizing the world. Get your fucking house in order, guys. Peterson encourages people to focus on what they can improve in their immediate environment. Cleaning up your habits, responsibilities, and personal discipline creates momentum that can gradually expand outward in your larger area of life. What's up, Steve? I hope you're doing good, buddy. I miss you. I love you. I'm so glad you jumped in here today. I can't wait to see you in August. The fifth point is small improvements compound over time. Brick by brick. Laying bricks, baby. Peterson argues that meaningful transformation rarely happens through dramatic change. Consistent, small improvements repeated over months and years gradually reshape a person's life. A person who improves even slightly each day becomes dramatically different from their former self. 1% better. That's it. Just 1%. It's not a lot. It's still something. That's all you need to fucking be a different person a year from now. The deeper themes that run underneath of Rule 4 is incremental self-improvement, which is what I just touched on. Personal responsibility for your direction in life. He emphasizes quite a bit in here that people start from different circumstances. You guys don't want to forget that. Avoiding resentment and bitterness is the third one. He spends a significant part of this chapter discussing how social comparison can lead people to resentment towards others who appear more successful or fortunate. The fourth theme underneath of this chapter is attention to perception can shape your reality. Attention and perception can shape your reality. Some days it's 0.99%. That's still fucking growth, right? It's still growth. Someone said something sideways to me at the Arnold, and I started a conversation about having their own house in order. They were flabbergasted. That's because people want to throw bricks while they live in a glass house. You don't want to throw shade at me. Like, I know that there are a whole lot of skeletons in people's closets, and if you push me too far, I'm going to go digging for those skeletons, right? Fucking get your house in order and worry about your own shit before you come looking in my closet. Josh Place just signed up for the church. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here. So again, attention and perception shape your reality. Peterson talks about how and what you focus on determines how you experience your life. If your attention is constantly directed toward people who are ahead of you, richer, smarter, more successful, you will always feel like a loser. Your brain will filter reality through that lens. When attention shifts towards your own improvement, your perception of progress changes. The world begins to look like a place where improvement is possible rather than a place where you are constantly behind. In simple terms, this chapter argues the most productive way to evaluate your life is not by measuring yourself against other people, but by asking whether you are becoming more capable, disciplined, and responsible than you were before. Mindset is so much. I sometimes feel like I haven't really grown, but then I look at the specific thing I've wanted to work on and see the change with that specific topic. A lot of times it snaps me out of it and I realize I have grown. Yeah, fuck yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be. You guys should be auditing your lives. If you guys are journaling properly, you'll be able to go back and see the things that you're struggling with and figure out how that shit goes. You know what I mean? Like, and what you still need to work on and all of that. Oh man, I'm so fucking sore. All right, fifth rule. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Life is about relationships. We hear people so many times say, I I'm not going to badmouth their mom, or I'm not going to badmouth their dad. And I'm just going to let it play out, because when they grow up, they'll know the truth. They'll come find me. They'll know me. They'll get to know me. I'll be here when they're ready, blah, 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 blah. Sure. I mean, that could happen, right? That could absolutely happen. Magnesium, potassium, stretch, and foam roll. You already know this. I do. My supplement regime is getting strong. You guys, I actually have my supplements right here. I can tell you guys what I take every day. Because this is where I journal. I sit down here when I get back from the gym and I'm journaling, and I'm taking my supplements while I'm doing it. I'm not foam rolling though. I'm doing mobility work and actually stretching and trying to do Qigong and like to be more bendy. I don't remember what I was talking about before I read your comment. I was talking about the relationship thing. So like, if you got a kid that's not been in your life for the last 8 years, and all of a sudden they reach out, you may not like that motherfucker, right? Like they might not like you. They might think that you're a total fucking piece of shit human being because you haven't been there. And you think that just because they're curious now that you guys are going to have a relationship and get along, that's not a thing. I'll fucking pull this bitch out right now. This is the stuff that I take after the gym, because I have my multivitamins and shit in the cabinet. I have Jocko Joint Warfare, my Meloxicam, reishi, potassium, L-tyrosine, digestive enzyme, 60 billion probiotic, my back medicine, my ECA, to make sure my labels aren't on camera, choline for my brain, a different type of digestive enzyme because I'm really obsessed with gut health right now, ashwagandha, lion's mane, magnesium, and dandelion root. This is my morning post-workout supplement box. I also take a multivitamin, fish oil. I take that at night before bed so that if I have fishy burps, I don't taste it. And I don't drink protein shakes or anything like that. I get all my macros from food. And then I also take other mushroom supplements, but those are on my computer desk because I take those, when I take those. So that's my daily regimen of shit that I take. Thiamine, I think, is actually in my cabinet. I don't take those every day. I'm not scared of ashwagandha. Ashwagandha lowers your cortisol. If you guys want to have a good deep sleep, ashwagandha will help with that. However, women, you should be the ones that are worried about ashwagandha because you could have other issues with that. Ashwagandha is better as a nighttime supplement from my research. It depends on why you're taking the ashwagandha. All right. So this chapter is Peterson discussing parenting, discipline, and the responsibility that parents have to properly socialize their children. His central argument in this chapter is that raising a child requires guidance, boundaries, and correction. If parents avoid discipline in the name of kindness or comfort, they often create children who struggle socially and behaviorally later in life. Bill, I remember you at one point telling me that you were going to get your supplement company that you're sponsored by to send me some shit, and I never got that package. Speaking of supplements. Peterson explains that many parents avoid discipline because they want to maintain peace in the home, in the moment, or because they fear being seen as harsh. Oh, shit. Move that thing that's going up there, because if I hit that space bar, it goes all the way back to the top. However, avoiding correction often creates bigger problems later. Children who are not taught limits may become impulsive, disrespectful, or difficult for others to be around. When that happens, the child eventually faces rejection from peers, teachers, or authority figures. In this sense, failing to discipline a child early can actually make life harder for them in the long run. This chapter emphasizes, I almost said emphasizes that discipline does not mean cruelty or anger. Peterson encourages parents to be calm, fair, and consistent when correcting behavior. Rules should be clear and consequences should be predictable. The goal is not punishment for its own sake, but teaching children how to regulate themselves and to cooperate with others. At its core, the rule is about responsible authority. Parenting requires guiding a child towards behaviors that allow them to be respected and accepted in the wider world. By setting boundaries and correcting harmful behavior early, parents help their children develop self-control, respect for others, and the ability to thrive in society. The first point of this chapter is that children must be taught how to behave in the world. Kids are not born automatically knowing how to cooperate with others. They don't know how to respect boundaries or regulate their impulses. Those behaviors are learned. Patterson argues that parents have the responsibility to guide children so that they can function successfully in society. I'll private message you about that. Okay. I've witnessed this so much in the difference with my nephew compared to the other kids in his class. You can 100% see who disciplines at home and who does not. You can see it in my kids. Real shit, you can see it in my kids. We take our kids somewhere, our kids fucking listen. They don't run around and act like assholes. Like they are on their fucking P's and Q's everywhere we go because we know that there is a set standard of how we're going to be fucking doing things in public. Anybody that's ever been around my kids will tell you that our kids are good fucking kids. Like it's crazy to me that people just let their kids do whatever the fuck they want. It's easier to give you a tablet and let you go do your thing than it is to raise your child. That's why that's a thing. The second point is lack of discipline creates social problems for their child later. When parents allow destructive or disrespectful behavior without correction, the child carries those habits into school, friendships, and eventually adulthood. Other people will not tolerate behavior that parents tolerated. The child ends up paying the price socially later in life. Third point is that parents must be willing to correct the behavior early. Peterson emphasizes small behavioral problems are far easier to correct when a child is young. Waiting until bad habits become deeply established makes change much, much harder later. Fourth point is that discipline should be fair, calm, and consistent. Fucking calm and consistent. Peterson is not arguing for harshness or cruelty. Instead, he emphasizes clear rules, predictable consequences, and emotional control from the parent. The goal is teaching, not punishing. There is a difference between disciplining your child and punishing your child. If your kid does something like breaks a glass and you get mad, you're punishing them, right? You're screaming and yelling, I can't believe you fucking did that, blah, 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 blah. That's a punishment. If your kid breaks a glass because they're 8 years old trying to wash dishes and they got soap on their fingers and the glass breaks in the sink and you go, are you okay? And you have a discussion about, how to hold the glass differently the next time, maybe putting your hand in it and holding it up upside down or whatever. That's discipline. You are instilling a new behavioral trait and information and knowledge into that child instead of creating anxiety and a fucking trauma response because you got angry that they broke a cheap ass glass that's very easily replaced and because you now have to get up off your fat fucking ass and clean something up. I have a hard time with this one, guys. Fifth point is good parenting prepares children for the wider world. Parents are responsible for helping their children develop traits of self-control, respect for others, patience, and responsibility. The underlying themes is that a parent's responsibility is a moral duty. He argues that raising children is not just about affection or protection. Parents are responsible for shaping the character of another human being. Second theme is socialization into society. Children must learn how to behave in ways that allow them to function around other people. The third theme is authority is used for development rather than domination. This emphasizes that authority in parenting is not meant to crush a child's spirit. That's the glass thing that I just referenced. Proper authority guides development. It creates structure that allows children to understand limits and consequences that helps them grow into responsible adults. The fourth theme is long-term well-being over short-term comfort. Many parents avoid discipline because they want to maintain peace or avoid upsetting their child. Peterson argues that this creates bigger problems later. Responsible parenting often requires uncomfortable moments of correction in order to protect the child's future relationships and opportunities. Parents avoid discipline because they want to maintain peace rather than avoid peace or avoid upsetting their child. I'm going to challenge that and say that you should upset your child. I'm not saying, get mad, make them cry, or punish them and be abusive. But if your children don't have a emotional meltdown or some sort of emotional dysregulation, how do you teach them then how to manage those emotions? Suck it the fuck up, you little pussy, quit crying. Boys don't cry, right? That teaches a man that nobody gives a fuck about him. Women are the things that matter the most. We're supposed to be strong no matter what. Failure's not an option. Then we end up with situations where we have no one to talk to because we know that no one wants to hear it. And we're not supposed to cry. We're not allowed to vent. And then we find ourselves with the taste of gun oil in our mouth. Little man gets upset. I want him to cry about it. I want him, if it's worth crying over, right? If he's left his straw in a car, I'm going to have a little bit of a hard time with that. But I understand that he is, working life the way that he is. And I will tell him this is not something worth crying over. This is not a quit fucking crying. This is not something that values or warrants those type of emotions from you, buddy. Like, I can get you another straw. You can go get it. It's not a big deal. Little man sees a rabbit, I'm making shit up. Maybe he sees a rabbit gets hit by a car and he feels an emotion for that and starts to get upset. I'm going to reward is not the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to push that. It is okay to cry about that, buddy. That is a tragic thing. That rabbit did not deserve to get hit by the guy who was speeding down the car or down the road. If you're feeling sad and emotion for that, let it out. I'm going to give him a hug. Like, this is one of those times where if your children are emotionally dysregulated, if you want to have men dating your daughters, or you know what I mean, and doing the thing, we have to be the front line to emotionally regulate them. I'm going to get way off topic with all of this, so I'm going to go back to the document. The fifth theme is relationship between respect and affection. Peterson suggests that when parents allow behavior that becomes intolerable or disrespectful, they risk undermining their own affection for the child. Resentment can quietly grow when boundaries are absent. Teaching proper behavior preserves both respect and love within the relationship. At a deeper level, this chapter is not only about parenting, it's about the broader idea that love without structure can become neglect, and that real care sometimes requires guidance, correction, and limits. Criticism without love is cruelty. So if you have people in your life that want to tell you things and like come down on you and judge you and do all of that shit and they don't love you, they're doing it from a place of fuck you. If there's a lot of love behind all of this and they're trying to see you do better, you should take that criticism a whole lot differently. I will admit the difference in my headspace I'm in with my son currently versus my daughter when she was an infant. Toddler shows it hurts me to see the dysregulation life events in my unhealed version. Yeah, but you can fix it, right? Like, this is the opportunity that you know you didn't do things right. You can have conversations. Kids need to see they need to see us apologize. Kids need to see us own our fucking shortcomings because they don't understand what apologies are. When kids are 3, 4, 5 years old and you're making them apologize to their siblings or to their friends, or whatever, they don't understand what an apology is. They see that as a means to get what they want. You want this thing, you have to go apologize to your sister and then you give it to them. So they equate the apology with the reward system of getting what they want. They don't understand the remorse behind the apology. The remorse behind the apology is what makes an apology sincere. I don't want to hear I'm sorry just because I'm hurt. I don't want to hear I'm sorry just because you got caught. That's not sympathy. That's not remorse. That's not true regret. That's you got caught and you're trying to smooth things over because your parents gave you a reward every time you told somebody you're sorry. You're not sorry. You're making an apology, right? You're attempting to smooth things over so that you're not in hot water anymore. Yeah. Kids need to understand that apologies have to have remorse behind it. Why are you sorry? Why are you apologizing? They need to understand that they're apologizing because of what they did and the action that it had on the other person. 6th rule, halfway done, guys. We've been on for an hour and 25 minutes. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. I struggle with that one bad in my house. This chapter is Peterson's exploration of personal responsibility before social criticism. His argument is not that the world has no problems. It clearly does. His point is that before someone positions themselves as a critic of society, institutions, or systems, they should examine their own life first. If a person's habits, behaviors, and responsibilities are chaotic, their criticism of the world often becomes an expression of resentment rather than meaningful contribution. If you don't have something positive to add, shut the fuck up. You're not doing anything to increase the fulfillment or the joy or the satisfaction or the betterment of the world. Shut your cum catcher. That's all there is to that shit. Peterson turns the focus inward. It is easy for people to point at everything that is wrong with society, institution, politics, or other people. Criticism of the world can become a way of avoiding much harder tasks, examining our own behavior, such as examining your own behavior. Peterson argues that before someone positions themselves as a judge of the world, they should first look honestly at the condition of their own life. Are you keeping your promises? Are you telling the truth? Are you taking accountability for your habits? Are you addressing the problems that are within your control? Someone told me this about resorting to "I'm sorry" before taking action isn't a real apology. I didn't realize that it was an escape from consequences until then. Saying how good my kids are, I literally just got an email from the school that my 5-year-old was throwing snowballs at teachers' cars at recess. Yeah, but so what? They're snowball. I guess maybe their ice could fuck things up. Kids do kid shit though. You guys, I was a fucking asshole kid. Oh my God, was I an asshole kid? I understand why my parents beat me when I was a child. Like, I fucking get it. We were in a car once. We had some gum. We were sitting in the car and we were outside of a store. My mom was in the store for a hot minute. And while she was in the store, we jumped out of the car and stuck our gum to the car next to us and like strung it and stuck it everywhere. Your fucking parents was pissed. Dude that came out and saw his car was mad as fuck. We had to apologize and take that gum off. We didn't think the gum would hurt the paint. We didn't fucking know that. We were bored. Monitor your fucking children. You won't have those problems. Peterson turns the focus inward. It's easy to point. Read that one. Yep, read that one. This chapter explores how resentment towards the world often grows out of personal chaos. When someone's life is filled with unresolved mistakes, neglected responsibilities, and destructive habits, it becomes tempting to blame external systems for their suffering. Peterson pushes back against that tendency. He encourages people to start with what's directly in front of them. Clean up your daily routines, repair broken relationships where possible. Stop engaging in behaviors that you know are making your life worse. These small acts of order create stability and restore a sense of agency. I cut a girl's entire ponytail off in kindergarten because my mom had cut my hair and I was mad. Yep, I believe that. We cut the barbed wire fence and drug a small boat through 2-foot corn to the pond in the middle of the farm field. We got in so much trouble. Yep, I believe that. Peterson also warns about the danger of moral certainty when criticizing society. History shows that people who believe they are morally justified in fixing the world can cause enormous amounts of harm. Recognizing that human beings are capable of both good and evil should produce humility. When someone confronts their own flaws honestly, they gain perspective about the complexity of human behavior. That humility makes their criticism of the world more thoughtful and responsible. At its core, this chapter is about integrity. Bringing order to your own life builds the foundation of confronting larger problems. When you take responsibility for your behavior, your habits, and your environment, you develop a credibility and strength to address challenges beyond yourself. Before trying to correct the world, Peterson argues that each person should first make sure that they are not contributing to the chaos that they are condemning. So the first point of this chapter is that personal chaos often fuels resentment towards the world. When someone's life is disorganized or full of self-inflicted problems, it becomes easy to blame external forces. Second point is self-examination must come before social judgment. We covered that pretty heavily. Small acts of order restore a sense of control. That's the third. The fourth point is that truthful self-confrontation is necessary for growth. Peterson emphasizes the importance of honestly examining one's own flaws and destructive behaviors. Avoiding that confrontation allows problems to grow. Facing it makes change. The fifth point is personal responsibility creates moral credibility. When someone has taken responsibility or accountability for their own life and put their affairs in order, their voice carries more weight when they speak about the broader problems. Their criticisms become grounded in integrity rather than resentment. This is why I have no qualms at all talking about my past. I don't have the resentment. I don't have the guilt. I have the understanding that all of those things that happened. I did that shit, and you can be mad about it if you want to, because I have moved the fuck on with my life. I have grown from it, and it taught me something. The deeper themes of this chapter is that the first one is of radical personal responsibility. We talked about that. He's pushing the idea that you must examine your own life before judging the failures of society. Moral humility, we talked about that. And then the order as the foundation for confronting chaos. This is that life contains unavoidable suffering and disorder. Peterson argues that the first step in facing that reality is bringing order to the parts of your life that you can control. This is a serenity prayer. Clean up your habits, tell the truth, honor responsibilities, and address your own mistakes. That creates stability. That stability then gives you the strength to deal with the larger problems beyond your personal life. That's the end of the sixth rule. I'm going to actually probably call it at that because I need to, I have things I got to do, and we have to go live at 6:30, and I'd like to get all that at 6, and I'd like to have my shit done and not making noise in the house by the time that happens. What do you guys think of this live stream? It looks like we're at 53 people. We've been live for 2 hours. The average viewer duration has only been 32 minutes. I don't like that. Don't like that. Amazing live. Well, I mean, it's a cool way to kill an hour and a half. The goal here is to eventually get this fucking channel back to being able to get monetized, so that when Deadeye and I are doing Voice of the Broken, we're doing more of these. We did that men's retreat. I'm gonna chat for a minute, guys, and I'm gonna wrap up. We did that men's retreat this weekend. And there's I said in this episode today that comparison is the thief of joy. And the entire weekend I kept comparing myself to my wife, because I got to be there at her first women's retreat, and I got to see how she conducts herself and how good she is at what she does. And I remember being in the kitchen at the first women's retreat, watching her fucking do her thing, taking pictures and like rooting her on and like standing in her power. Man, my wife's a bad bitch. Like she's a fucking spiritual gangster, and she's such a fucking role model for people. And like, I really got caught up in the, like, am I going to do as good as she did? Like, am I going to be able to stand next to her in this thing? Because she's already got 2 under her belt now. Like, there's a whole lot of comparing what she's been doing to what I'm about to do. And Friday night came and we started talking. Like, we do this introduction thing where when we sit down, we get everybody together and we say who we are, where we're from, and why we're here, right? It always turns into who we are, where we're from, and why we got turned on to the podcast. And it always, with me, and Belle can confirm this, it always has, Chris pissed me off. Chris triggered me. Chris said this, and I was like, fuck that motherfucker. Like, we get that. Oh my God, we get that every single time we do anything. And like, there's a part of me that's like, do I want to just always be that person that's triggering people to get them to think for themselves? Because I realize that some people don't respond that way. Some people are going to hear me say these things and be completely turned off and miss our message completely. But we're sitting there and we're having the conversations of why this is a thing. And at least 70% of the men who were there because I triggered them. I challenged their manhood. I questioned their morals. Told them that they were weak or a bitch or whatever the case may be. And like they still found themselves at one of my men's retreats having conversations on how to better themselves. And like going into Friday night, I was adamant. If you would have asked me Friday night if I would ever do another men's retreat before we got there, my answer was no. This is a one and done. I will never do this again. This is the stress that went into this, the prep that went into this, the fear that went into this, like the uncertainty that went into this is making me never want to do this again. Friday night, we had the conversation and Peaches could hear us all in there laughing, and like the introduction of 20 men, including myself, I guess 21 men, because I did speak. It ended up being about 3 hours. And, for this is why I'm here. This is who I am. This is where I came from. Should have been a 2-minute thing. Like we should have been done with that in less than an hour, 3 hours. And I came to bed and Peach is like, you're going to do another one of these. And I was like, I don't think I am. I really don't think I am. She said, you will. I said, we'll see. She said, you were out there laughing and have a good time. Is the nervous gone? And I was like, a little bit. I'm finding my footing now. I realize that this is who I am. The need to live up to your expectations is starting to die down. And we had a discussion about it. And Saturday morning, I got up early. There was a couple men out there already, and we kind of got into talking a little bit. And we did our seminars from 9 until 2. Peaches threw down in the kitchen, had a bomb-ass breakfast. And while we were doing our seminars, the amount of men who told me that their marriage is saved because I called them on something that they didn't see in their life, right? Like sometimes you are standing too close to the forest to see the trees. There's a lot of things to be said about my ability to say something to somebody that makes them step back and really truly reevaluate their life. And like, there's a lot of, it's humbling, right? It's not an egotistical thing. Like it doesn't make me feel like I'm the fucking man. Like it makes me feel like I need to take more care in the way that I speak. I was told a lot this weekend that people listen to the podcast at 2 times speed while they drive. And that when you listen to me talk at 2 times speed, I really sound like a fuckface. Like it doesn't sound like I'm weighing my words and trying to think and speak and articulate myself with intention. It sounds like I'm just talking shit. And I got to fix that because I don't want that to be my legacy. But anyways, the point of all of that and the reason that I brought up the whole men's retreat thing is because I've been getting messages since we got home Monday about different scenarios of people getting new jobs and people having new relationships with their women and having new conversations that they wouldn't have had before and looking at their kids different. And like, there's somebody that was at the men's retreat who is also not drinking now, which was pretty wild. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm now at the point where I went from vehemently, I'm not doing another one of these men's retreats to, it could possibly happen one day. I'm not going to do them the way that Peaches does them because I know that the market for what I do is not as large as hers because our Discord is more women than men. And I don't want to find myself expending energy and resources and money into things that are not fruitful for To Be Better or for the Awakened Consciousness Church. But I don't know. The way it translated in my head is a father figure versus a mother figure. I don't expect to be coddled. The way you put things into words hits home hard in the way I need sometimes. How bad was the snoring? I stopped encouraging my man to go knowing what he sounds like at night. I didn't hear anyone snoring. We had private rooms and bunks. The only person I know that snored loud enough that was asked to get out of the room was Deadeye, but he slept in the gaming room all night, or all weekend. Hubby and I really appreciate you, Chris. Thank you. You're welcome. Was your old man at the men's retreat? Hope you guys do a men's, women's, and couples in the future. My husband and I had to say no to these retreats due to financial hardships last year. And now that we are back to where we need to be. The couples retreats will probably continue to happen, but we're going to slow down a little bit on them. We did a whole lot very quick. And I think that it burnt people out. The mod retreat has the entire second floor vibrating from snoring. The mod retreat was the loudest snoring I've ever heard because it was all of us. Every man at the fucking retreat snored. He didn't have the princess room. No, him and Cody actually stayed in the Mickey Mouse room, and Cody kicked him out of the room because he was snoring. Russ said the walls were shaking in the next room. That's funny. I would love for us to do a couples and individual with y'all. I mean, we're definitely going to do more couples, and I'm sure she's going to do more women's retreat. This April's women's retreat has created a lot of headaches for her. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but you would have heard him. It's funny. If it weren't for a CPAP, I would move out. That's funny. Peaches likes my snoring. She said, I can't sleep in the bed when you're not here because your snoring is like music to my ears. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, that shit would drive me nuts. And she's like, I know you're at peace when you're snoring and it makes me happy. So I'm gonna wrap up, guys. Thank you for fucking hanging out with me for a little while today. I'm going to do another one of these probably later on this week or maybe this weekend, but I will see you guys on the next one.